How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of eStationSoft, welcome to today's stream. Today is Sunday, which of course means that I am continuing my playthrough of If My Heart Had Wings, and I just decided to pull up a random picture from the gallery and show it off to start things out. So, this game, I am thoroughly enjoying it. I highly recommend that you guys check it out. If you want to own this game physically for the Nintendo Switch, there are still a few copies available for you to purchase from PlayAsia.com, but you'd better hurry because there were 2,000 made and there's less than 100. In fact, I think now there's less than 50. So, if you at all want this game, now's the time to get it, because once those copies are gone, they're gone forever. And trust me, totally worth having, because it's the special edition, and it doesn't cost that much more than just buying the regular edition digitally. So you get, of course, the game physically for you to put on your shelf. You get a nice, beautiful art book. You get a CD soundtrack, which I actually just ripped the CD to my computer earlier this week. I've been listening to this music in my spare time. Just so beautiful. I like this game, can't you tell? So yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there. With that out of the way, let's continue with day 6 of If My Heart Had Wings. So, we ended last week with... Wow, those crickets are loud. Gonna bump the volume down just a tad. So we ended last week with Kotori's older sister Hibari coming for a visit. Enough said. Hibari's home cooking was superb. The paella, a Spanish-style rice dish with shrimp and shellfish, was well received by everyone. After the main course was dessert, which was sweet bean jelly from a famous Japanese sweet shop. It was perfect. Apparently, Hibari had been visiting Flying Fish Manor since a while back, and had been making food for Kotori and the other boarders. Because of Kotori's handicap, she had been given special permission to come at any time by the owner of the dormitory. Thanks to her wonderful cooking, everyone was feeling satisfied after the meal. Ah, good. Crickets are gone. Hibari seems to get along well with everyone. At the dinner table, Hibari was very open with not only her sister, but with all of the other boarders. I wasn't sure if Kaneko was talking about Kotori's disability or her personality. She's got such a cute little sister, so she can't help but want to take care of her. While we were speaking, Hibari pushed Kotori in her wheelchair out from the dining hall. Thank you for the meal, Hibari. Got my water ready. I know I'm gonna need it. Even though she had only gotten back from an overseas business trip, she had a lot of energy about her. I couldn't help but notice her good looks, too. Must run in the family. No, I can do that. Kotori said it as if it was all her doing. Kotori must also have been proud of her sister. Kotori, you can help me too later. Hey, you said it. You ate that delicious food too, didn't you? For some reason, Kotori's reaction seemed a little cuter than usual. It must have been her sister's influence. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. As if it needed to be clarified. Together with Hibari acting downhearted, they headed to the bathroom. As I watched them leave, I remembered that Kotori was desperately trying to cover up the fact that she was in the soaring club. It must be because her family would worry if she were to do anything dangerous. It seemed very unnatural to me, and it played on my mind. Extend the little wings which fly in the sky highly. I think we're beginning to understand what that means. I think that cloud has been there since we first moved in. What was she, her older sister or her mom? Yeah? Sure thing. Leave it to me. Maybe I sounded a little arrogant, but I answered honestly as the house mother and as Kotori's friend. Worried about her sister until the end, Hibari got in the car and left. Today was Monday, the start of the week. Well, not this week. This week we got Labor Day. She probably was headed straight to work. She came here in her own car, and apparently her workplace and her house was about an hour away. She's a good sister, right? Would Kotori be able to leave her sister alone? Alright then, time for school. When you need to pad out an essay. I became a little restless around 6th period. Just a little more and school would be done for the day. More importantly, it'd be time for club activities. None of the clubs were active yesterday since it was Sunday. I was told that my pilot training would start today, so I couldn't stop myself from feeling giddy. Yeah, I've heard that before. The teacher's laid-back way of speaking actually made me feel even more annoyed. I stared at the clock on the wall at the back of the classroom, waiting for time to pass. It rang! The bell rang! The teacher briefly went over the lesson again before the class chairperson gave the order to stand and bow. I guess that's a Japanese thing. See ya, teach! Pardon my voice crack. As I got into the hallway, Kotori, whose seat is near the doorway, was already outside and on standby. There wasn't much I could do about that. My seat's next to the window. Oh, hold on. Ageha's not here yet. We looked into the classroom where Ageha was surrounded by several girls, talking to them about something. I assumed there was something in the lesson they had just had that they didn't understand, so they were asking her about it. They made a big deal about grades at this school. Failing any subjects could very well result in the year having to be repeated. It wasn't like Ageha's grades were anything special, but she was really knowledgeable in certain areas. That's why her friends all went to her for help just before finals. Hey, Ageha! Ageha waved through a gap in the wall of girls surrounding her. She said it'll be just a bit longer. But she asked us to wait for her. Oh! It took how long? It took, hold on, 5 streams at 2.5 hours per stream, or an hour and a half per stream. So it took five streams, an hour and a half, 5 times 1.5. It took us almost 8 hours. It took us almost 8 hours to come to our first decision. Oh man. So, here's the thing. I pretty much already decided I want to do the Kotori path. And it really hurts. I hope Agea doesn't hate us, but I'm going to go with Kotori. Let's wait a little longer. I figured I'd just try to hang around. Please tell me I hit the right button. Hello? Check the log, make sure I picked the right one. I'm positive I picked the right one, right? I decided to go with Kotori, right? My skin looks really bronze right now. It doesn't say what I picked. You know, just to be sure, I'm going to reload and pick... I'm positive I picked correctly, but just in case. Go with Kotori. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're set. Let's just keep going. Let's wait a little longer. I figured I'd just try to hang around. Kotori said so in a confident tone and really did go on ahead. I couldn't just let her go like that. So I shouted to Agea before chasing after Kotori. There's no harm in waiting, you know. Are you really that against going with Agea? I hadn't realized it, but I sounded anxious when I asked. But I started talking as her. It always felt like Kotori had trouble knowing how to be around Agea. You always act so tough, but you're really just a bag of nerves. Yeah. She always put up a front, but was actually super shy. That fact about her also affected her school life. She never got used to being part of the class. That's not what I'm saying. Stop crying. Really? Well... I don't think you're a crybaby. I did it now. I got under her skin. Kotori stopped moving her wheelchair. Maybe she was tired. You want me to push you? Kotori shook her head. Aww. Huh? Why do you think that? If you realized you had a bad attitude, wouldn't you try to do something about it? No, she doesn't. I simply stated that for the time being. I've known her for a long time, so I know that much about her.
うかしら。
She was totally paranoid. Kotori put her hand on her chin and started to think.
どうすれば仲良くできるんだろう。
Well, for example, before going to club activities, if she says wait for me, why not just wait for her?
だってそれ私に言ったんじゃないもの。
That's because I was technically the one who called out to her. So, should we head back to the classroom?
いや、いい。今さら戻るの恥ずかしいもん。
I could hear how embarrassed she sounded as she spoke. After another moment, she started off in her wheelchair. Sure, I was worried about the delicate situation between the two of them, but there's no need to rush things. Things like this take time. Friendship is something that grows slowly. If there was anything I could do to help, then I'd do it. How are we going to do the flight training? I asked Amane once all of us in the second year had gathered. Amane had been playing around with a bundle of tangled PC cables, and we could only see her head from the other side of the desk.
飛ぶんだ。
Flying? I imagined it would be something like doing weight training to build physical strength. But we still can't fly, right? There's no way we'd be flying around broken wings. With broken
そ
wings.
この壁際の荷物をどかせてくれ。
As requested, I tidied away the boxes piled up against the wall of the garage.
うわー、なんだかよくわかんないものが山盛りだね。
Before Amane and the others started coming here, this garage has had many mysterious boxes and antique parts left inside.
何これ、なんでこんなところに剣とか槍があるの？
That's interesting.
こっちにヌンチャクあるよ。
Okay, I think I get it. There's a broken toy gun, too. Of course, the sword and spear were well-made replicas. As for the other things, if I had bought them, I would think, why the hell did I buy this? I would definitely regret buying them. There were also many things that looked like souvenirs that were bought on school trips. I could easily tell that the members of long ago made this garage their own.
できたわよ。よし、じゃあ電気を消してくれ。
As the lights were turned off, the inside of the garage became pitch black. Amane was operating some kind of machine. Flight simulator? Then, on the wall where all the boxes were before, the PC screen appeared.
プロジェクターだ。映画館みたい。
Were we going to watch an instructional video?
葵くん、こっちへ来てくれ。
Sitting down in the chair that Amane had prepared, I was handed a computer game controller. Flight simulator. What are we doing?
だから飛ぶんだよ。これはフライトシミュレータだ。
Yeah. Flight simulator? I had heard of them, but I wasn't exactly sure what it was.
ゲームみたいなものだ。フライトを疑似体験できる。実際に飛ばなくても操作方法やグライダーで飛ぶ感覚はある程度身につけられるはずだ。よくわかんないけど、なんだかすごそうね。市販のやつですか？いや、自分で作った。
She made the flight sim?
これは風ヶ浦の地形と我々のグライダーに特化したシミュレ
And
ー
she
ター
put in
だから
the
な。
topographic data? Wow. Man, she's a whiz. I'm gonna change the screen. The town of Kazagawa that we all knew, shown as a landscape viewed from the air, was projected onto the wall. This CG was beautifully made compared to the cutscenes in RPG games on the latest consoles.
やっぱすごいよこの人。
Agea mumbled while looking at the screen being projected.
昨日のうちにデータは最新のものにしておいたから、よりリアルな感覚で飛べるはずだ。
Great! I showed how impressed I was with Amine's amazing work and got myself fired up.
では始めるぞ。
A CG modeled glider appeared on the screen.
操作を覚える前にグライダーの動きについて説明するぞ。グライダーの運動は縦軸、横軸、垂直軸。このまずはローリング。
On the screen, the longitudinal axis that runs along the length of the fuselage was displayed, and we got some animation. This movement was called rolling.
次にピッチング。
This time, the transverse axis coming out sideways from the fuselage and the movement based on rotation of this axis was shown. This movement raises and lowers the nose, which is known as pitching.
そして最後はヨーイング。
Going through the fuselage vertically was the vertical axis, and the movement based on rotation along this axis was displayed. This movement, yawing, moves the nose left and right.
この3つがグライダーの基本的な動きだ。わかるか？
Yes, I think so.
グライダーがどんなに複雑なマニューバーを描いているように見えても、実はこの3つの動作の組み合わせによるものなんだ。だからパイロットはこの3つの動きを操作するだけでいい。
I see. So the basics are quite simple then. Kotori and Agea were listening to the conversation and nodding along.
じゃあそれを踏まえた上で実際に操縦してみよう。
Amine switched the mode on the PC, and the screen changed again. The sky and the horizon were projected across the wall.
これはコックピットから見た映像ですか？ああ、そうだ。へえ、こんな風に見えるんだ。
The glider was already in midair, but since I was used to video games, this felt incredibly slow. It didn't feel like it was moving forward at all.
離陸と着陸、特殊な状況を除いて君が操作するものは2つ。操縦桿とラダーペダルだ。
I'd seen the cockpit many times, so I knew about that. The yoke is the stick that is between the pilot's legs. In movies where the pilot is flying a fighter jet, what they are holding onto is the yoke. If the button on it is pushed, missiles get launched. Of course, no such thing was on a glider, though. It was like the steering wheel in a car. Then, there were the rubber pedals on the left and right. You could operate them by pushing them with your feet.
それぞれコントローラーに対応している。左のアナログスティックが操縦桿、LR ボタンがラダーペダルだ。
Are we going to fly this thing? That would be insane. Okay. Somehow I doubt it. I think she's just giving an analogy. Yeah, that's what's going on. I tried the analog stick and the L and R buttons on the gamepad. It was a little slow, but the field of vision in the center of the screen swung around. Whoa!
無茶をするとストールして墜落するから気をつけろ。
Okay.
操縦桿だが、これはさっき説明した3つのうち2つ。ローリングとピッチングを操作できる。左右に倒せば、その方向に機体がロールする。
I moved the analog stick, in other words, the yoke, slowly to the left. It was a little slow, but the aircraft responded. The horizon in the middle of the screen tilted to the right.
操縦桿を倒すとどうして機体が傾くの？ いい質問だ。それは操縦桿でエルロンを操作しているからだ。エルロン？
It was like Kotori had a big question mark on top of her head when she heard the unfamiliar word.
主翼についている補助翼のことだ。主翼の外側の後ろについていて、操縦桿を左に倒せば左翼のエルロンが上がり、右翼のエルロンが下がる。
It's the flaps.
そうすると左翼の揚力は減少、逆に右翼の揚力は増大するから、機体は左にバンク、つまり傾いて旋回をする。
I shouldn't say for sure that they're the flaps because it's possible that flaps and ailerons are two different things, but I'm pretty sure ailerons are just flaps. Leaning makes it turn, huh? It's the same as a bicycle. A bicycle has a handlebar, but you don't turn by moving it left and right. You turn by leaning the bike.
操縦桿を使ったもう一つの操作、ピッチングについてだが、ピッチングとは要は機首を上げ下げする動きのことだ。操縦桿を後ろに引けば頭が上がり、前に倒せば下がる。
I tried pushing the yoke forward. Whoa! The screen moved, and the ground was displayed. The aircraft pointed downward, and it looked like it sped up.
機首を下に向けると機体は下降していくが、その分速度が増す。
I see. I imagined it sliding down on the air. This time I tried pulling the yoke back. I was no longer able to see the horizon. It felt like it was floating, and I realized the speed was dropping.
これはどうやって操作しているの？またさっきのエルロン？いや違う。以前紙飛行機で実験しただろ。機体の上下の動きを制御していたのは。
When Kotori was playing around with the wings on the paper airplanes, she made one do a beautiful loop-the-loop.
あ、水平尾翼。
Amane nodded.
ピッチング、つまり上下の動きは水平尾翼についたエレベーターという舵で操作する。
We'd heard of an elevator before, of course, but this was different from the ones in buildings.
通常機首を上げれば揚力は高まる。
In other words, the aircraft would rise.
だが上げすぎると逆に揚力を失うことになる。気流が翼面に沿って流れることができなくなり、剥離してしまうからだ。この現象をストールという。揚力を失うとどうなるかは説明するまでもないな。
That's what happens. If there is no lift, then it will start to fall.
そうなったらもう落ちるしかないんですか？いや、立て直すことは可能だ。ストールはどんな時にも起こり得るから、ストールからの回復訓練はしっかり積んでおく必要がある。
Okay. When falling became a possibility, I found it hard to breathe. When you're flying through the air, even a tiny mistake can cost you your life.
試しに一度落ちてみようか。
Huh? I beg your pardon? Amane pulled back hard on the analog stick. The nose gradually pointed upwards, and then...
臨界無改角を超えた。ストールしたぞ。
The aircraft stopped, and then the screen started to spin like crazy. Next thing I knew, we crashed to the ground. Game over.
ゲームオーバーって。とまあこんな感じだ。訓練ではわざとストールやスピンを起こして、そこから回復する練習をするんだ。実際に空でやると怖いぞ。死ぬかと思うぞ。
If you're scared of heights, maybe that is true. Because of how well the simulation was made, the crash was too realistic. Amane selected the mode and we started to fly again.
で、次はラダーペダル。
In the simulator, this is controlled with the L and R buttons.
これはラダーを操作するわけだが、ラダーとは日本語で方向だという。右を踏めば機種が右を向き、左を踏めば機種が左を向く。ヨーイングの動きを制御するんだ。
横を向くの？でも曲がるときは主翼についてるエレロンを使うんでしょ？
エルロンだけで旋回した場合、グライダーは正面を向いたままバンクした内側に滑っていくように移動することになる。
どういうこと？前を向いたまま斜めに進むってことじゃない？
Amane nodded.
そこで同時にラダーを操作してやり、旋回したい方向へ頭を向けてやるんだ。
Like the handlebars on a bicycle. While leaning a bike, you must turn the handlebars in that direction, or it wouldn't turn well. Using bicycles as an example, leaning the bike left or right are the ailerons, and the handlebars are the rudder.
なるほど。旋回したいときはエレロンとラダー両方が必要と。
そうだ。けどそれだけじゃまだ不十分だ。旋回中、機体を傾けると揚力が減るので機体が大きく降下してしまう。なるべく高度を保ったまま旋回するには、操縦桿を横に倒しながら少しだけ後ろに引いてやる必要があるんだ。
So, when you turn, you have to use all of the controls at the same time. It all seemed quite intuitive.
以上。飛んでいる時に必要な操作はこれだけだ。
After ending her explanation, Amane turned on the lights.
結構簡単なのね。そうだね。
When I heard unfamiliar words like aileron and rudder, it sounded complicated, but once I tried it, it was quite easy. Moving the yoke backwards, forwards, left and right, and pressing the left and right pedals. That's all there is to it.
アクロバットでもしない限り難しい操作はほとんどない。グライダー乗りに必要なのは風を見つける能力なんだ。
Find the wind?
どこにどんな風が吹いているか、サーマルはどこにあるのか、そうして見つけた風に上手に乗ることができるかどうか。
So, you mean you need knowledge, experience, and intuition?
そんなところだな。ケーキ類の見方はおいおい覚えてもらうとして、まずは慣れることだな。あとはこっちのパソコンの画面で練習してみてくれ。
Okay, got it. I sat down in front of the PC and started practicing immediately. Yeah, I play Fight Simulator for hours a week too. After club activities, we started to head home.
あずい。
Tell me about it. Agea was fanning the chest area of her sweat-drenched uniform. She saw me looking.
おお？なに何見てんの？
Mwah! Good night, everybody. She sensed me looking at her chest and asked cheerfully, You know, there is a guy here, right?
しょうがないじゃん。胸が一番汗かくんだもん。これって女らしいってことじゃない？
She carried on fanning herself. It seemed like she wanted to show me.
ガレージのエアコン弱くない？お尻が蒸れちゃうんだけど。
Kotori wiggled around in the wheelchair. When it comes to these two, it's spacious and there's no effective heat insulation from the ceiling. It's like a prefabricated building. Since there's no attic, the heat from the sun transfers directly to the inside. Well, yeah, it's a garage. Even if we turned on the air conditioning, it wasn't very effective.
ロボット部よりかはマシよ。あっちは人数多いからムシムシするのよね。汗で。
Listening to Hagea's story, Kotori made a face that looked grossed out.
さてと、私こっちだから。
We arrived at the usual fork in the road where Agea left us to go in the other direction.
じゃあね。
Hey, Agea! Do you want to get some ice cream from the convenience store?
いいけど、なんで急に？
You two saying how hot it is made me want to eat one. You want to eat one too, Kotori?
いいけど。
Kotori seemed to be thinking about Agea being there when she answered. Sweet, let's go! I started walking ahead. In the convenience store parking lot, I bit into the ice cream that I had bought. Hanging out in front of the convenience store was one of the privileges of being a high school student. Agea got watermelon flavor, Kotori got chocolate chip, and I chose vanilla.
ハバネさんはカップ派か。棒のアイスは途中で溶けてきて手がベトベトするから好きじゃないの。
Everyone had their own preferences when it came to ice cream.
ねえ葵、シミュレーターどうだった？
I still don't really understand it. It was pretty tricky.
どこがどう難しいの？
It just feels kind of inconvenient, you know? When I think about doing something, I'm not able to do it quickly. It felt easier to control when it was faster.
エルロンもラダーもエレベーターも風を受けなきゃ効果ないもんね。
That's right. Using those help control the position of the aircraft using the power of the wind. Of course, if the wind is strong, the controls will have a big effect, and vice versa. However, the glider didn't have an engine. You couldn't easily speed up or slow down. If you do one thing, it affects everything else, and that's what makes it so difficult. You couldn't just think about the current situation, you had to act according to what would happen next. It meant that experience was also needed to fly.
乗ってて気持ちよかった？
Well, to be honest, since it is the simulator, I really can't say. You were watching the screen, right?
なんていうか、すごいもどかしい感じだった。3D のシューティングゲームに比べると圧倒的に爽快感がなかったわね。
Yeah, that's true.
実際に飛ぶのとはやっぱり違うのかな？
I think so. I can imagine that, somehow. I wondered how it would feel to fly through the sky in that thing. It still feels a bit unclear.
いいな。私も飛んでみたい。
Maybe we'll find a way for her to.
シミュレータならやってみればいいんじゃない？
Since everything was controlled by hand.
いい。今は葵くんがやるべき時だから。
I'll be patient for now. That's what it seemed she was saying. Without thinking, Agea and I looked at each other.
じゃあ、早いとこ翼を作って実際に飛べるようにしないとね。
Yeah. I needed to learn fast so I could take Kotori with me. I might have been getting ahead of myself, but it was good to have a goal.
チェ外れか。残念。
Agea finished eating her ice cream and threw the stick into the trash can. Yeah, you know when those ice cream sticks sometimes have, like, words of wisdom or a prize or something on them? Yeah. Good times. I finished eating too, so I threw my wrapper into the trash can. Kotori, who was still eating, hurriedly ate the last of her chocolate chip ice cream. It wasn't as bad as Amane, but the way she ate kind of ruined her pretty girl image. She rushed over in her wheelchair and came to throw the cup into the trash can. Did she think that if she didn't finish, we would leave her behind? Aww. While we were away from Kotori, Agea had come up beside me.
気を使ってくれてありがとう。
What are you talking about?
とぼけちゃって。 私とハバネさんのために誘ってくれたんでしょ？
I don't know, did I? Looking at me as I quietly played dumb, Agea smiled cheerfully.
あ、お待たせ。
You didn't need to rush like that.
それじゃあ帰りますか。また明日ね。
Yeah, see ya.
さようなら。
We saw Agea off as she waved her hand. I pushed Kotori's wheelchair along the road back to the dormitory. So, I guess we would call that a good day. Sure seems like it. Yeah, it's a hot day. Currently 84 degrees in my room. Let's go. Sorry, 29 degrees Celsius. What are those? We went to the garage after school and saw large amounts of cardboard boxes and tin cans piled up.
いやあ、君たち。
What's this for?
おお、ついに届いたのね。
Agea came in with sparkles in her eyes.
主翼を製作するための資材だ。外にまだあるから運ぶのを手伝ってくれないか？
We then, with a great deal of effort, carried the materials. Agea checked them off against the purchase order.
オッケー、全部来てます。
よし。
これでようやく翼が作れる。
Agea was in high spirits.
この大きなのは何？でっかい割にやたら軽いけど。
発泡スチロールだ。型を作るのに使う。
Ooh, okay.
片翼の長さは約8メートル。その型を取るんだからかなりの量必要になるのよ。
That must be why the other materials were ordered in large amounts as well.
それが完成すれば飛べるようになるのよね。じゃあ早く作りましょう。
Kotori was in high spirits too, but it wasn't like she knew how to make them. How do we make them? Is it something that we can do here?
FRP で作るから多分特殊な機材はほとんどいらないと思う。広さ的にも問題ないんじゃないかな。
Oh, that's right. It was like super expensive, and Amane's like, oh, that's not an issue. What are you guys talking about? Forgot about that.
ですよね、天音先輩。
ああ。前もここで作ったしな。
But what is that RFP stuff? I wasn't familiar with that term.
強化プラスチックのことだ。主翼を作るための素材になる。
Strengthened plastic? It still didn't make any sense. The broken wings were propped up against the wall. It was smooth and also hard to the touch. I thought it was made from aluminum or something.
プラスチックなんかで割れちゃったりしないの？
Kotori asked as she looked at the broken part.
それは大丈夫。ちゃんと作ればね。
おかしいな。ちゃんと作ったのに。
Amane went deep into thought as she looked at the broken part next to Kotori.
FRP ってすっごい頑丈なの。プラスチックにガラス繊維を混ぜて強度を上げたものなんだけど、考え方は鉄筋コンクリートと同じかな。
Reinforced concrete?
ほら、あれってコンクリートの中に鉄筋を通すじゃない？コンクリートは硬いけど引っ張られたり曲げられたりする力に弱いの。鉄筋を通すことでその弱点を補ってるわけ。 FRP も同じで、硬いけど弾性率が低いプラスチックにガラス繊維を混ぜることで強化するの。
I see. I said as if I understood it completely. I wasn't even sure if I really understood it or not. But as for the finer detail, we'd learn from class sooner or later. After all, that was the kind of school we were in.
どうして徹夜アルミじゃなくその FRP っていうのを使うの？いくつか利点があるんだけど、多分グライダー製作には最も適した素材なんじゃないかな。
そうだな。現在グライダーの素材としては FRP がメジャーだ。強度はもちろんのこと、プラスチックなので金属で作るよりも軽量化できる。
加工が簡単でコストも安め、後から補修もできるし腐食もしない。
Hamane nodded to each point she agreed to.
ちなみに FRP は意外と身近なものにも使われてるのよ。
What could those be?
車のバンパーや漁船の船体などがそうだな。
Really?
公園のスワンボートとか、あとあれケンタの店先に立ってるカーネルおじさん。
Kotori and I nodded in agreement as Agea mentioned the Colonel. I touched the Colonel statue many times, and also had silly photos taken next to it when with my friends from the cycling club. So those were all made with FRP, huh?
カーネルおじさんと同じ素材でグライダーもできてるのか。
From the way Kotori murmured, I wasn't sure if she was just interested, or maybe her dream was shattered just a little. How exactly do we make them?
そうね、簡単に説明すると、まず型を作るでしょ、翼の。それに FRP の素材を塗っていくんだけど、まずはこっちの。
Agea opened one of the boxes and pulled out some sort of cloth.
このガラスマットを敷くのね。これがさっき言ったガラス繊維。
Okay, fiberglass.
その上から樹脂を塗り、
Then
また
resin.
ガラスマットを敷いて、また塗ってって繰り
So
返す
it's
の。
oh, it's fiberglass. RFP is just fiberglass.
あとはそれが固まるのを待って取り外して。
And it's complete?
まだよ。表面をピカピカに磨いて塗装すれば完成。簡単そうね。今説明したのはあくまでかいつまんでだからね。
Make sure you scrub your hands after you handle fiberglass. That, oh man, it gets really
実
bad
際
if it gets in your
はもっ
skin.
と手順が多い。これだけ大きなものを作るとなると、普通のやり方じゃ通用しない場面も出てくる。
まあ一個ずつ進めていきましょう。先輩、設計図見せてもらっていいですか？
As Agea looked at the plans, she and Amane started discussing something.
なるほど。
Oh, so she
ここは
knows.
分割して後から接合するしかな
She
さ
knows
そうです
exactly
ね。
what's going on, doesn't she? Wow.
しかし、そうすると重量の問題が出てくる。あまり重くすると、
The discussion transformed into something we couldn't understand.
先輩、主翼作りなんですけど、私に任せてもらえませんか？
うん、構わないぞ。私がやるよりいいだろうからな。
Hmm.
ありがとうございます。ハバネさん。
Kotori was surprised to hear her name called out all of a sudden. She should have gotten accustomed to it by now, though.
何かしら。ハバネさんも手伝ってね。もちろんそのつもりよ。
I'll help too.
葵はいいや。手が足りない時だけでシミュレータの方を優先して。
Kotori glanced at me uneasily. I'll leave it to you two then.
おお、任された。
With that, Agea became the one in charge of making the main wings and got to work on making them. I know Kotori really wants to fly. I hope they
じゃ
find a
あ
way.
教えた通りやってみよっか。まず発泡スチロールで型を作る。 けどポリエステル樹脂が発泡スチロールを溶かすから先に上からコーティング。
Just before working, Kotori had to take Agea's impromptu FRP course. She seriously took down notes and read them back as they proceeded with the work. Since it was just for practice, they were trying to make something not related to the main wings.
先にガラスマットを敷いて、その上からポリエステル樹脂をローラーでコロコロと。ああ、ダメダメ、もっとしっかり塗り込まないと。いや、やってるわよ。隅っこの方はハケを使って、樹脂をつけすぎないで。分かってるわよ。うるさいな。気泡が残ってると空洞ができて、そこだけ強度が弱くなっちゃう。そしたらまた折れちゃうんだから。
Hungry? A hurtful expression could be seen on Amine's face as she stood beside me, teaching me about piloting. Are you okay, Amine?
けど
She answered, still with the same expression. It seemed like Amine had a complex about her lack of dexterity. Amine and I were doing pilot training using the simulator.
旋回中ラダーの操舵量が少なかったりタイミングが遅いと内滑りを起こす。逆にラダーを使いすぎたりタイミングが速いと外滑りする。
Slipping and skidding are the terms used to refer to diagonal movement of the glider. They occur when you try to turn, but the nose isn't pointing in the right direction.
内滑りも外滑りも相対風に対してグライダーの向きがずれるから揚力の低下が発生してしまう。
Gliders move through air at a decent speed. Even with no wind, it would be the same as if taking wind from the direction it's moving. That is what is known as relative wind. So, if the glider moves diagonally, the wind hits it diagonally too. This means that if the glider took the wind from the front, the functions of that aircraft were maximized. When Amine mentioned that there would be reduction in lift, it's because it couldn't take the wind directly from the front.
旋回中はそうでなくても揚力が低下するから内滑りや外滑りをするとかなりの高度をロスすることに。
失礼します。
Look who it is. Akari Kumoi, the vice president of the student council, entered the garage.
やあ、副会長。
こんにちは、望月先輩。それから。
Hi. I bowed to her as our eyes met.
こんにちは、水瀬くん。
Akari wandered around the garage and nodded with approval.
ちゃんと活動なさっているようですね。
ああ、まるで部活のようだろ。
She said with pride because it was a real club after all.
ところで、何か用かい？
少し様子を見に来たんです。あの時は状況が状況だったので。
As you can see, we're doing very well.
ええ、見ればわかるわ。
For some reason, I felt that she had a bit of a sharp tongue when talking to me. And it seemed like she was looking at me, as if she was assessing me.
確かにお人よしそうな顔してるわね。悪人ではなさそうだけど。油断ならないわ。
Wonder what that means. What is it?
いえ、なんでも。
Did I do something wrong? Akari headed over to the other two working at the back of the garage.
少し見せてもらってもいいかしら。あかりさん、どうぞどうぞ。こんなもんでどうかしら。いいんじゃないかな。これは FRP ね。何を作っているの？お皿よ。お皿？練習してるんです。 グライダーの翼を作るんですけど、いきなり本番じゃ失敗した時困るんで。あとはこれが固まるのを待つのよね。そしたら磨いて色を塗って。
Kotori mumbled to herself as she checked her notes.
ハバネさん、使い終わったローラーやハケはすぐ洗い流した方がいいわ。樹脂が固まってしまうと使えなくなってしまうから。
Ah, that was actually really helpful. Kotori hurriedly went to wash them. That was a close one. We nearly ruined some of our newly bought equipment.
それから硬化剤を混ぜた樹脂は温度が高いほど固まりやすいから、容器はなるべく日陰か涼しい場所に置くといいわ。
That I knew too. Kotori wiped her wet hands on her skirt and made a note of Akari's advice.
主翼作りは長丁場になるから、そういうことも考えておかないといけないんだね。
Agea also looked like she was thinking seriously. After confirming that the other two were doing proper club activities, Akari came back over to us.
うまくいっているようですね。
あ
Amane answered proudly. It looked like she was happy to be praised like that.
ところで、実はもう一つ要件があるんです。副部長を決めていただけないでしょうか。
Second in charge? The other two working at the back of the garage stopped and turned their attention to us.
ええ。望月先輩はとても有能な方ですが、お一人では手が回らない場合もあるでしょう。
I think that's a typo. I think she meant to say Amane.
そんな時、どなたかいていただいた方がこちらとしても助かります。非常に。
Apart from Amane, everyone made a face that seemed to say, "Oh, I see." It probably wasn't just Akari, but also the other student council members in the past have had difficulties dealing with Amane. She was very unique, so sometimes she expressed ideas that differed from the general social norms. The chaos over the club losing its status, and Amane repeating the year many times were examples of her uniqueness. Akari might have been trying to say that she wanted someone to act as a middleman to keep things running smoothly, like a manager. But what you really mean is you need someone to act as a mediator, right? From the few days that I'd spent with Amane, I learned that she wasn't suited to being any sort of mediator. Amane was the creator of the club and its objectives. The second in charge would be the one to bring everyone to carry those out.
わかった。決めておくよ。
助かります。
Akari seemed relieved as she nodded and then glanced at me. As I
やはりこの水瀬葵が選ばれてしまうのかしら。かなこさんの話では人望はあるようだし、行動力にも富んでいる。ルックスも悪くは。って何を考えているの私は。
do you need something from me?
え？
You've been glancing over at me.
見てないわ。自意識過剰よ、水瀬くん。私はソアリング部の活動状況を見ていただけです。
Oh, I see. Sorry. Well, actually, she wasn't just glancing at me. She was staring.
では、私はこれで。
Now that she had finished what she had come to do, Akari left in a hurry. On the way out, she tripped over a cardboard box.
もう何よこの段ボール。
Once more, she went to leave.
何あれ。さあ、葵に気があるんじゃない？
おお。
Why are you saying that all of a sudden?
だから副会長は葵くんのことをずっと見てたのか。
やっぱり見てたんだ。これはあるね。
No, there isn't, really! Come on, let's all get back to work. After getting them to drop it, Agea and Kotori returned to their work.
あいつちょっと赤くなってない？
だね。あかりさん綺麗だもん。
I can hear you. Amane, what are you going to do about that thing the Vice President was talking about just now?
どうしようかな。誰かやりたい人はいるかい？
I would pick Agea personally. I think she's most qualified. The two other girls looked at each other for some reason, then turned to look at me. Me?
なんとなく
You can't decide something like that by saying, that's what it looks like. Let's think about this, Amane.
わかった。
Amane answered as I tried to reach a resolution to the problem I had brought up. What I mean is that everyone should keep mumbling to themselves to a minimum and concentrate on the task at hand.
もうくぶちをずらしてる。
Guilty as charged.
あれは意外にやる気満々だね。
葵くんでいいと思うんだけどな。
Everyone was muttering to themselves as they got back to work. Well, I guess he's in charge now. Second charge.
もう帰らなきゃいけないのか。
And she doesn't wanna.
もっと残って作業できればいいのに。そしたら早く完成して早く飛べるのにな。
Kochiri mumbled quietly to herself. The school closed at 6:30, and if you wanted to stay longer, you would need to submit a notice of extension of club activities. However, I had my house mother work to do, and Kochiri had to help me with dinner, so we had to leave at the usual time.
明日は今日試しに作ったお皿の仕上げをしつつ主翼の型作りに入ろう。いよいよ本番ってわけね。焦ってまた折れちゃったら困るから慎重に作業を進めましょう。
Things still seemed awkward between them during lunchtime, but after half a day, they'd really opened up to each other.
ところで葵、あかりさんのことどう思ってるの？
Huh?
そうだった。部活終わったら問い詰めなきゃって思ってたのよ。
What's this all about? I don't care. You don't need to cross-examine me.
いいから聞かせなさいよ。そうだそうだ。
I couldn't believe these two. Okay. Let's make a dash back home. All the boarders are waiting with empty stomachs. I ran as I pushed Koto to use his wheelchair. Did you see the demon face she made right there? Hi, Leandro.
待ちなさい。なんでごまかすか。
I thought that somehow these two might just get along really well. Pure torture. Wow, that hour passed by fast. Once we began work on building the main wings, the Soaring Club garage suddenly came to life. Everyone had their own tasks and was able to find an outlet for their increased motivation. Also, this had an effect on things outside the garage too. For example, at lunchtime one day...
ねえ、このガラスマットとガラスクロスってどう違うの？大きさかな。他になんか違いあったっけ？クロスの方が薄いけど繊維が長いから引っ張り強度が強くなるんじゃなかったかしら。そっかそっか。マットの方が曲面になじませやすいからややこしい形のものを作るときはこっちなんじゃないの？じゃあ主翼を作るときはガラスクロスの方が適しているのね。大きいし平らだし強くしないといけないから そういうこと。
Ah, they're getting along. Recently, Kotori and Agea were having lunch together. Kotori was always reading an introductory book on FRP, and if there was anything she didn't understand, she asked Agea. When Agea had free time, she would read books about glider production, which she had taken from the bookshelf in the garage. Not something you would read while eating lunch. Since Kotori was spending time with Agea, the feeling that Kotori wasn't part of the class began to subside. Other people in the class were also helping Kotori. It gave her a chance to talk to other people.
おい、みなせ。女子ばっか見てんなよ。
I'm not! I made a few friends in the class too and started having lunch with them. I wonder what they're talking about. I was only helping a little when it came to building the main wings, so I wasn't involved much, but was still interested. I mean, I wanted to talk to them about the glider too.
しかし、お前すごいよな。
Why is that?
転校してきていきなりあのハバネさんと仲良くなっちゃってさ。望月先輩ともお近づきになったんだろ？
I just got lucky. Kotori, who used to have a stormy relationship with the girls, seemed to have been treated differently by the guys. They found her a bit unapproachable, but showed a certain kind of respect when they spoke of her. Maybe because of her disability, or perhaps because of her looks, but mainly because she was hard to approach.
たまたまね。
If I hadn't become the house mother, maybe I wouldn't be speaking about her in a similar way. The fact that I settled into the class so quickly was all thanks to Agea.
言っとくがな、俺たちはそれも羨ましいんだよ。なんだよ、幼馴染って。
Well, this is kind of off topic, but it seemed like Agea was popular with the guys. Thanks to that, some of the boys were a little jealous and envied me. If the situation were reversed, I might be envious of them.
ああ、俺もソアリング部に入ろっかな。
Too bad, we already have too many members.
嘘つけ。なんだよ、独り占めかよ、チキショー。
While Agea and the others were talking about gliders, us boys were having a typical guy conversation. When I was at an all-boys school, these kinds of conversations were a lot less enjoyable, so I was glad I transferred after all. This is how it usually was each day. After school, we went to the garage and got engrossed in the work we had to do. Agea, who was also in the robotics club, went there on some days. Once she was finished, she'd come to the soaring club. And on those days, she'd also come to check Kotori's work and gave instructions like, "That's no good," or "Looks great," and so on. Then a few days ago,
外よ。そーっと剥がしてね。
that sounds promising. Gulp.
よし、取れた。見て見て、ほら。
Kotori, having peeled the FRP plate from the mold, happily held it out to show us. All right.
やったね。
Without thinking, we all punched the air with a sense of victory. The smooth surface had a glossy shine to it. This large rectangular plate was one of the pieces that would make the main wings. The main wings were about 26 feet. It was very risky to make the whole thing in one piece, so they were made in separate pieces to be joined later.
見てよ、ほら。すごい滑らか。本当だ。私のとはえらい違いだな。
I hope she's not saddened by that. But won't the part where it's connected become weaker?
問題ないわ。接合部は厚く積層するし、むしろ強度は強くなるはずよ。これを磨いて色を塗るのね。全部できて接合したらね。風は まだまだ先か。
This piece was just a test run to check how to build it. We still had 10 more to make after this. If it's already this smooth, does it really need to be polished?
表面に理系剤が付着してるから、それをきれいに剥がしてやらないと塗装のノリが悪くなるのよ。
Agea explained while she checked the surface of the plate.
上出来。当たり前よ。何せこの私があんなに頑張ったんだもん。
本当に綺麗にできてるな。いいな。
As we talked among ourselves and stood before the first result of our work, we all kind of felt a sense of excitement and unity. Although it was slow, the production was proceeding smoothly. Sunday. From tomorrow, our final exams were going to begin, so club activities had been stopped for the time being. If the school found us doing club activities secretly, we would get in trouble. Which was why we met at the garage on Sunday. The cicadas were singing loudly, which was normal for this time of year. It was already the peak of summer. Once the final exams were over, our long-awaited summer break would begin.
おーい、葵くん。
Is that you, Amane? On my way to school, I heard Amane calling from behind.
珍しいな。一人かい？
I had some house mother work to do. The others couldn't wait, so they left without me. Early this morning, Agea had come to the dormitory and left with Kotori. Those two have been getting along recently. Seems like they finally opened up to each other.
そういえば、二人でいる時も会話が弾んでいるみたいだ。
Yeah? In what way? They must talk about the glider a lot.
主に君が話題の中心だな。
Really? I wonder what kind of stories they're making up. I could somehow imagine it, and it would definitely be something stupid.
知りたいか？
Nah, it's okay. Just knowing that those two are getting along was enough. Besides... Well, it's probably the first time I've seen you without your school uniform.
ああ、これか。昨日久しぶりに家に帰ったからな。父の仕事の手伝いをしてきた。
Your dad's job? What kind of job does he do?
発明家だ。
An inventor? For a moment, I imagined a mad scientist laughing hysterically while chemicals in the test tubes were exploding. It's not like the days of Edison. I wondered if an inventor was an actual job. Wait a sec. She said she's been home for the first time in a while, so does that mean she lives alone? I couldn't help but wonder what was going on, but I decided not to ask about it.
小鳥たちじゃないが、最近私も楽しい。
What do you mean?
部活だよ。みんなすごい。アゲハには作る才能があるな。起点が利くし、知識も豊富だ。小鳥は根気があるし、熱心だ。誰よりも飛びたいって思っている。
I think that's a fair assessment.
葵くんはあの子らをうまくまとめてくれている。シミュレータではもう私より上手に飛べるしな。
They'd be so happy if they heard what you had said about them.
そうだろうか。
Yeah, I guarantee it. The reason why everyone could throw themselves into this was because someone amazing like Amane was here. Amane brushed back her long hair and smiled as if reminiscing about something.
君たちが来てからいつも賑やかだ。イスカがいた頃に戻ったみたいだ。
There was that name, Isuka, again. The person who wrote the flight log. What sort of person was she? And why did Amane always talk about her in the past tense?
早くテストフライトがしたいな。
Amane looked far away to a big column of clouds as if she could hardly wait. What's up?
ジース。
ういっす。
Are you here alone, Kotori? I entered the garage with Amane to see Kotori by herself camped in front of the air conditioner, looking bored.
姫木さんならロボット部の子に呼ばれて出てったわよ。
Aww. By the Robotics Club? Recently, Age had been coming to the Soaring Club more often than she went to the Robotics Club. Could that be the reason why they called for her?
呼びに来た子が深刻そうな顔してたわ。
Was it her little sister? Kotori looked dull while saying that. She probably didn't want to think about it. At that moment, Agea came back,
ただいま
and she's not happy. Hey, Agea! You were at the Robotics Club?
ああ、うん。
What happened?
ちょっと困ったことになってね。本当は喜ぶべきことなんだけど。でも先輩たちの気持ち考えるとそうもいかないか。
What happened?
しばらくの間ロボット部に専念しなきゃならなくなった。
Oh. Well, they're coming up on their summer vacation though, so it's not that big of a deal, right?
それどういうこと？先輩、少しの間お休みさせていただくことってできますか？
それはいいが。
How long are you going to be away for?
早ければ夏休み入ってすぐだけど、遅いとお盆くらいまでかな。
So, almost half of summer break.
ロボットコンクールの予選だな。
Agea nodded.
私ら下級生チームは補欠だから出場する予定はなかったんですけど、先輩チームのロボットに問題があったらしくて、今からじゃ間に合わないから急遽繰り上げってことになっちゃったんです。
The Robotics Club was popular. There were many members, divided into several teams. Each team created a robot that met the regulations for that year's contest. According to Agea, while helping the seniors with their work, the juniors also made their own robot for practice. However, since it was only for practice, most of the time the robots were never completed. This year, though, Agea put a lot of effort and said they were nearly finished with what they were making. They needed the robot made by Agea's team to enter the contest because of this problem.
じゃあ主翼作りはどうなるのよ。直接作業してる時間はないかな。ロボット部終わってから顔出すから、作業は幅根さんにお願いできないかな。無理よ、私一人じゃ。
I'll help. If this meant that the main wings couldn't be completed, now was not the time for me to be doing pilot training.
お願い。ほんとごめんね。それじゃあ私、またすぐ行かなきゃだから。
Agea made her apologies and left the garage. There was a moment of awkward silence in the garage.
何よあの子、勝手なことばっか言って。
I thought they were getting along. That's not how it is. She was a member of the Robotics Club to begin with.
でも、せっかくいい感じだったのに。
Amane, while Agea's away, I'll be helping Kotori. Amane?
うん。それでいいと思う。そうしよう。
Amane looked like she panicked a bit, but went back to the drawing board and didn't say anything for the rest of the day. It was raining heavily on the first day of finals. This would be my first exam at this school. I felt confident for the regular subjects, but when it came to the special ones, I didn't know what to expect.
はい終了シャーペン OK
The answer sheets were collected. That was it for today's exams.
寄り道せずまっすぐ帰れよ明日も試験はあるんだからな
Right through the rain. Sure thing, teach. That's what the teacher said, but I had brought my lunchbox.
アゲハどうだった？まあまあかな。私ダメだった。明日の英語に全てを託すわ。私はその英語がダメだから。
As always, Agea was chatting with our classmates and left the classroom with them. Agea! I followed her out to the hallway and called out to her. Are you going home?
ちょっと用事あるんだ。葵は？
I'm going to swing by the garage.
そう。
Agea, are you...
アゲハ、何してんの？ごめん、先行ってて。何、葵？
No, nothing. See ya.
おお、明日もテスト頑張るぜ。
She said cheerfully, then waved her colorful orange umbrella around as she chased after her friends.
一緒に帰らないのかよ
Oh, look who it is. Whoa, Masa! It doesn't matter. I mean, whether we leave together or not.
よくねえよお前ら最近ずっと一緒だったじゃねえか気持ち悪いくらいベッタベタしてよ
We're not getting clingy.
してましたなんとか部がどうとかって言ってさ
What are you sulking about? The fact that you can't join us?
はあ誰がお前らなんかとピッピ
Stop acting like that in front of others.
だいたいおかしいと思ってたんだよだってお前昔アゲハに告白して振られただろ
Oh, he's not denying it. I was caught off guard. How do you know about that?
アゲハから聞いた
I couldn't believe it.
なのにまたつるんだりして恋愛経験豊富な俺に言わせりゃそれは不自然ってもんだ
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I think you're misunderstanding the situation. That was back when we were kids. Kotori, how long have you been there?
知らない何も聞いてないから
She denied it in a really obvious way, then zoomed off down the hallway at top speed in her wheelchair. Masa, you bonehead!
じゃあな
Hey, hold it! Masatsugu skipped away as I tried to retaliate. Well, isn't that interesting? Hey, Kotori.
私何にも聞いてないから聞いてないことについて聞かれても答えようがないから
Is that so? Going against what our teacher had said, Kotori and I headed towards the Soaring Club garage, where they will get in so much trouble if caught. Because of the rain, inside of the garage was humid. We sat down in front of the air conditioner and ate our lunch while we studied for the exam tomorrow. Damn you, Masa. The thing that Masa slipped out was something that happened during our childhood. Agea probably didn't even remember it. Even if she did remember it, it was embarrassing, but nothing to make our friendship uncomfortable. Back then, we didn't really understand the differences between boys and girls, and we partook in youthful indiscretions. Which was also why I didn't think it had any special meaning. Amane, how was the exam?
受けてない。
Huh? Oh, yeah. That's right, she deliberately kept dropping credits. Also, if she took the test like everyone else, she was so smart that she would be top of the class without even trying. Strangely enough, Amane wasn't hungry today, so it seemed that the boxed lunch I brought for her would go to waste. I put it in the fridge so she could eat it later.
葵くん、
Yes?
姫木さんのことだけど、
What's this? I thought you weren't listening. Kotari ignored my sarcasm as she continued.
さっき廊下で話してたでしょ。あの子、何か言ってた？
Oh, nothing really. She said she had to do something and went home.
姫木さん、私たちのこと避けてない？ここにも来ないし。
Since Agea said that she was going to focus on the robotics club, she hadn't been coming to the garage at all. Well, club activities are suspended during the exams. Aren't we the ones who are being strange for coming here?
そうかしら。ねえ、やっぱりあの話。
Yeah? Yesterday, I asked someone I knew in the robotics club about the situation. I wanted to know what happened that day when Agea was called over. At the time, Agea said it was decided that her team would enter the contest, but she didn't look so happy about it. I wondered if something else was said to her. Could it be that because she was in two clubs at the same time, she was losing her position? That's what I was worried about, but apparently there hadn't been any complaints from the other club members about it. They said that there weren't many people in the robotics club as enthusiastic as her. Anyway, the advisor of the robotics club was Mr. Tobioka, who I heard rumors about when we were looking for members for our club. He had a grudge against Amane, and apparently he wasn't so fond of the Soaring Club. It's not clear whether the rumors themselves were true, but it seemed that this was what Mr. Tobiyaga said to Agea that day. We do not allow our members to hold positions in other clubs. You must quit one of them. That is brutal.
このまま来なくなっちゃうかもね。
Oh, that makes her sad. Clink. Amane, who was staring at the plans, dropped her pen.
すまない。
Apologizing to no one in particular, she picked up the pen. Amane had also been acting a little strangely since Agea stopped coming. She'd been fidgeting and seemed restless. Agea said it would be until the local qualifiers for the robotics club. It sucks that the production of the main wings has been slowed down, but let's wait until then.
でも、もし辞める気なら、早いとこ行ってほしいわね。また部員探さないといけないんだから。
While she slowly poked at her omelet, Kotori voiced her complaints.
お前ら、ここで何してる?
Okay, that's where we're going to stop it.
セーブデータを上書きしてもいいのね。
And that's where we will be picking it up next week. So yeah. Not too much happened, but you know, we got a bit of an insight into the characters, and Amane changed outfits for the first time, which was nice. So that was day 6 of If My Heart Had Wings. Like I said, I'll be back next Sunday to continue my playthrough of this, and before then I'll be back on Tuesday to play something else. So until then, on behalf of East Asia Soft, I have been Skull. Have yourselves a great day and a great week, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Bye, Leandro. Thanks for being here.